Slurpdy diddly do, my G's. You know I always drop classics for you guys. Today is no different. I've got an absolute banger of a video for you guys today. I'm going to show you how to make a perfectly blended sound design layer for your bass line to take it from dry and neutral to something otherworldly and much more interesting. So let's have a little A and B of this loop that I've made for you guys with the bass line without the post-processing and then with the processing layer. So firstly without. Now we'll listen with the processing layers applied. And it sounds so much deeper, it's got so much more vibe and character to it, at least in my opinion anyway. And I'm going to show you how to make these kind of layers, and so you could go ahead and try it yourself, and also kind of what you're looking for and what you're trying to achieve when you're doing it, you know? So firstly, let's just talk about this bass, because it's just a lovely bass patch from my most recent Serum pack, Dissonance, and it's the Disorder Generator. Really like this one. Just programmed in a MIDI pattern as you see here. It's a nice kind of groove with the beat. And I've just bounced it out to audio. Okay, so I've got it all in audio here. And then what I've done is basically I've made a duplicate channel. So we've got a second channel down here now where I have all of my effects on. So this is the 100% effects layer. And so the idea is basically to create, obviously we've got two now exactly the same. The idea is to create a layer that is a positive addition to the original. And so what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to create something using the same sound. You're going to have to really change the harmonics a lot and create something completely new that kind of fits with it, you know? So my goal is to change the harmonics, almost create a new character and a new tonality, almost put another new rhythm into the sound as well, and also apply enough convolution, reverb and things like that so I can make it more ambient, and so it will fit alongside the first bass, because the first bass, if we think about the character of it, it's got a very, very powerful low end. We don't want to disrupt that. It's really upfront and personal. It's very crunchy and like present, and we don't want to detract from that either. It's got loads of great high end as well, really nice and crunchy, as I just kind of mentioned. And yeah, it's all kind of nice and powerful and raw and forward and in your face. Okay, so it doesn't make sense that I do something like that again. It doesn't make sense that the layer is again super bassy or again super dry and forward and upfront, and with super loads of high end as well. So it makes sense to make the layer contrasting, you know? So basically I'm thinking a little something that will sit a bit behind it, a bit more ambient with a bit more depth and different kind of character and not so much low end. That's kind of the goal, okay? So when we design it, we'll start off with a couple of plugins, and then we'll be listening in line with the original as well, okay? So firstly, I've slapped on a bunch of white noise. So this is just going to help to change the kind of harmonics and the tonality when it goes through some other effects. So using the bandpass noise from Kilohertz, putting some white noise in around 45%. And then I've done, I've used the Echo Boy to, this like completely starts the whole process of almost convoluting it in a sense. So having that noise in first kind of makes a nice difference. Just makes it a bit more gritty. And that's actually a thing I added in later. So I actually put the noise in towards the end when I was designing this chain. You know, I've just done it sort of with trial and error, you know. But yeah, the first main thing is 100% of this effects plugin. I love the Sound Toys stuff. This is a preset called Foreboding Planet, which is under the sound design section, but I've actually tweaked it by changing the style here. So you've got all these styles where it'll completely, convolute it in different ways to give you completely different results, like different amounts of mid-range or high-end. And here already it makes sense to kind of listen with the original, and that's what I did. I listened with the original. I kind of went through some of these. I like what the Space Echo did because I felt like it gave me like a new mid-range character that sort of envelops the original. So that was really the key moment. So it's finding that sort of style, that style of new harmonics that will complement your bass sound in a certain way. For example, this one, it wasn't super high-end fizzy like the main one. It was more of a mid-range focused, and it was more like a bit wider than the original. So it kind of like the new sound kind of envelops the original, So it's really cool. So I put the noise back in with it. So that noise is quite nice because it's quite sort of damp as well. It's not like really, really sharp anymore because it's going through this convolution. All right, next I've got the Ruiner. Love this one. And you can hear really what this does. We listen in isolation again now just to our layer. It kind of, you can hear the boom, 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 that it's kind of enhanced that part of the sound. With it on. It feels like it barks a bit more, that in that part of the sound. And that's, we're using the Doom mode especially. The Saturate will bring you a lot of high-end distortion. Sometimes it works well, but oftentimes it can be too much. So I turn the Saturate down. The Overdrive is just up a little bit, and then but it's the Doom mode that's really. It kind of does a thing where it sort of targets the low mid and kind of changes the sound design of it. So in that way, I've gone like a step further at refining the sound and like sort of changing the whole character and the whole low mid-range harmonics essentially. So that's what the Doom mode does there. Great. And it's just, you can use the blend to sort of how much of the effect you want in. I've left it sort of around 50-50 for this one, but now it's already it's sort of distorting a bit too much now, but that's okay because we're basically going to add in some more plugins now to sort of control this sound. So next we've got a another Sound Toys one, and this is the Filter Freak, and this is really cool because again it's like letting me target the low mid-range frequencies and shape the tonality of them, so if I turn it up, it puts these almost like laser resonancy kind of sounds in, boom, 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 kind of in that same area. But just by mixing it in, I've now got I've got that movement happening in a kind of new way again, but same sort of technique, targeting that mid-range, changing the character of it, and just keep like doing stages and stages of things to just keep adding like a new flavor to it every time, So that's mixed in just under 50%, and that was a kind of preset originally, KB's Groove 2 it's called, under the rhythmic section, but again I've just sort of tweaked it. I've tweaked where the frequency positions are to target that area that I want to modulate, Okay, so we've done that. Now it's a case of we've sort of done 3 big creative effects already: the Echo Boy, the Ruiner, and the Filter Freak. Big, all creative, like changing the harmonics and the mid-range. Now it's a case of like more mixing kind of plugins, so a bit of convolution first. This is just one of my classic convolution choices, the White Blur 50 milliseconds, nice and short one from Kilohertz, and it just allows me to make it like a little bit wetter, but still nice and tight. And then I basically have a bunch of EQing. So I got to take out all of that bass. And we can listen alongside the original again now. Some sort of like now taking out those parts that I don't want to conflict with the original, like the low end, giving a little boost here in that mid-range just because it kind of sounded good. Another sort of control EQ to take out more low end. Bit of a high end push because the sound's been dampened quite a lot. It kind of, you could use a bit more air, this one still. Okay, so they sound great. Then because it's so ambient with the sort of with the echo boy and the noise and the sort of convolution, it's, you know, made the sound quite ambient and quite long. And a little control with the transient shaper is great because basically you can just shape the tail a bit and make it like a little bit shorter, you know, a little bit more staccato in a sense, just by sort of shortening or decreasing the volume of the tail of the kind of sound a bit, you know. So just kind of bring that down about 25%, just to control the volume of those tails so they're not quite as loud. And then a final kind of EQ, again, just sort of controlling the low end, last little low end control, and a little high shelf boost. Just to really make sure it fits in and doesn't interrupt the low end of the main one. That's the most important point. You really don't want to be getting in the way of your main bass line, like its power. You're making this cool ambient thing. You can go crazy with the effects, but you've got to mix it in right. You know, there's no point in creating such an awesome sound and then not mixing it in well, and then disrupting the flow of your original sound. So you've got to create it in a way where it gels and blends in like really nicely, you know. So just make sure you try and do that. And then just sort of clip the channel just because, and there it is pretty much, you know. So it sounds much more interesting now, right? And how loud you go with it, how much you want to feature it, that's really up to you and the kind of track you're working on. But you can apply this like style of sound design in any genre, like even pop, even like liquid, jump up, jungle, whatever. This kind of sound design is going to just like give you that detail that you need in your tracks, you know. And something like this, a bit more, I don't know, darker, neurofunky kind of, I don't know what the genre this is, but basically something like this, you know, maybe I'll want to really push that ambient kind of atmospheric edge to the bass sound. And maybe I really want to have that in there, you know. I like it in there on this one, you know. Almost becomes like a key feature, you know. But like I said, that kind of same technique you can apply and in a much more subtle way on any genre, and it's going to level your tracks up and give you that like super fine detail that you're after, you know. And so what I've done for a little bonus thing was I basically created another version of my layer and sort of chopped out these gaps where I could have, essentially a separate version here. And this one sounds a little bit different. So it's a bit more kind of noisy and a bit more high end on it. And all I did was really go back to this Echo Boy where we were kind of playing with the style before. And I chose a different style, the studio tape, which has a bit more high end on it. So if I just play this part in isolation here. Yeah, so it kind of had this extra high end on. And then I think I may have adjusted the Ruiner, maybe a little bit more drive on that. I think I changed the filter kind of speeds a little bit, made the filter a bit faster, and then I just sort of turned it up a couple of dB because it was a little bit quieter than the first one. So I just put a few changes into some of the plugins, you know, filter position, the echo color, and a couple of things. Just to create like a separate version. So now I have this sort of call and response happening as well in my ambient kind of layers here, you know. So that's really, really great now, like in the whole beat again. You can kind of hear that little call and response difference happening now. So isn't that great? I love doing this kind of stuff. It's one of my favorite things to do. Yeah, this kind of really in-depth, in detail kind of sound design for drum and bass. And you know, I've done it with trial and error. I've just thrown on like 3 of my sort of favorite creative plugins, but you don't have to use those. You can use any, but hopefully the techniques that I've showed you are like how I've explained the concept will help you. And remember, it's all about contrast, you know? So when you have to break down, you know, what your main sound is and really break it down, like what would be contrasting to that, and then create that so that when you layer it in, it has the space to fit in. Because again, if I just made another fat, subby, upfront, high-end heavy sound, again, it's just going to be the same. So it's just not going to work. So, you know, it kind of had to be more ambient. It had to have a bit less low end. It had to be not quite so bright in the high end so that it could gel well. So just be conscious of like what kind of sound you're trying to create when you're layering it, and make sure it's something that would like conceptually fit, you know. So there we go. There we have it, my G's. Hope you guys enjoyed that tutorial today. Much love to everyone on the channel, much respect. Thank you for subscribing. If you haven't already, please do. I really appreciate it. Leave a like and leave a comment down below. Also, check out the links in my videos if you want preset packs. Like this bass, for example, is on my most recent Serum pack, but there's loads of other presets on my website for Vital, Faceplant, Current. I know some of you guys already have the whole collection, so I appreciate you guys. I really do. And yeah, also, if you guys ever want any lessons with me, book in for a one-on-one down below. Send me an email if you want mixing and mastering work done. And finally, come along and join us on Patreon if you haven't already. You can actually join as a free member and get some free downloads on the free part of my Patreon. Or if you really want to level up, then join our Discord and take part in our group events like our feedback live streams coming up very, very soon. All right, that's it from me today. More from me very soon. Much love.